so we can start. Hello, my name is Seyeon Hwang, and I'm from University of Florida. I'm here today interviewing you at Rural Relief Jacksonville office in Jacksonville, Florida. Can you please tell us your name and spell it out for us?
My name is Benjamin Nzabarinda. Benjamin as Benjamin. Nzabarinda Nzabarinda.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
So, would you like to pick the 3 cards?
I'll pick 3 or 1?
3.
3. Shit. I don't know.
Yeah. So we can start talking about those things. I'm gonna collect them. All right. Okay, so you chose work, camp,
School.
and work. So, just start telling us about any of the topic.
You told me I got 1 hour?
Well, we could go a little beyond that. On average, 1 hour.
It's complicated. I would prefer answering question by question, but since you just want it to be this way, I'm gonna start with the camp. I'm actually from Congo. Congo is the 3rd biggest country in Africa. It's known for political and disorder since 1996, and sometimes even before 94, when the genocide broke up in Rwanda. Rwanda is a neighboring country. Those who perpetrated genocide in Rwanda, they just fled to Congo, and you see, they were followed there by those who stopped the genocide. So my country Congo, was like the battlefield. So we felt we had to leave the country, and we went to Rwanda, where I lived since 1996 as a refugee in a camp. That's why I took this. So in a camp, life was very hard. If I am to talk about this topic, I may take 3 hours, but I know I have to be much concise in what I'm talking about. So the life in the camp, I may say, that was good and bad. Good because I went to school, but because it's actually the camp. So the numbers the people living in the camp, the number was always changing, but we were varying between 13 and 17 or 18,000 people in the camp, living in small houses, not bigger than this room. And the houses were made of the tent on the roof. There was no pavement on the ground, and the walls were made in mud. You see what I'm talking about? So if I am to talk about food and water and sanitation, there was no electricity. About the food, I'm not going to talk about all that goes on changing, but when I left, one person was receiving 6,000 of Rwandan francs per month, it's less than $1 per month. You see what I'm talking about? It's really not enough for the people to live. So people are living, they are living on less than even 1 cent per. You see what I'm talking about? It's very hard there, the life. And the good thing is, what's good, what I can talk about the goodness of the people in Rwanda, the Rwandan administration, is they let people go out of the camp, which is different from what we were hearing from other camps like in Kenya or like in Tanzania. So there we could move around, go in the cities, go to Kigali, the capital city, and we would even go to school. The education was free of charge from primary. Primary is like, from primary, 6 years of primary. Then for secondary, at the very beginning, it was also free, but there was a time when the organizations that were supporting students to continue with secondary is like high school here, maybe 6 years. So for me, I managed to finish my primary and go to secondary. I went to a seminary because I passed the test that was supposed to be done even by nationals to go to have either the public sponsorship, the government sponsorship. Then by chance, I passed the test and I went to a seminary. That's where I did my secondary school. After that, there was a program run by DAFI. DAFI is a refugee refugee program for university and tertiary education, sponsored by German government, and goes through UNHCR. So it was supporting those students who were most successful at the end of their secondary school. So I got the scholarship, and I went on with the university until I got a job, I got resettled, and I came to the United States. So there I was living with I have my mother there and sisters, but I left when I was already married, like 2 years ago. And I just came with my son and my wife, but my whole family has stayed there in Rwanda, in a camp. Yeah.
How would you explain the everyday life within the camp?
There's no life in the camp. Because I would say there's life if you can do this. Like here, maybe I wake up in the morning, I take a shower, I go to work. When I'm back, I watch the TV, or after I get shower and I go to sleep. There, I can say there's no life because there's no routine. There's no something that you do at a very daily routine. You just wake up and wait until it's dark and go to sleep. The very bad thing is, except for people who are very lucky, like I was, the very bad thing is about employment. I was talking about the fact that people could go to school, but after school, they get back to the camp and they are stuck. They keep their degrees in the shelves. So I say I was lucky because at the end of my university studies, there was an American organization that was running the resettlement process. They wanted the teacher to teach basic English to the refugees who were approved to resettle to the U.S. So I did the test, the interview and the test, and I passed. So I was a teacher over there until I got resettled. Yeah.
In the camp, how long did you live in the camp?
For almost 2 decades. Yeah, because I got in a camp in December 1997. 1996, I don't remember well, but you can count. It's almost 20 years. Yeah.
When you got into the camp, was going into camp your only option, or were you also able to just, in the end, why did you decide to go into the camp? Because you said that you could have also stayed.
Oh, yeah. The only life that my family could afford is to stay in a camp. We had 2 types of refugees there. There was refugees in the camp and what we called in French, because everything was in French there, les réfugiés urbains. It's like urban refugees. So there were refugees who had some means. Those are the ones I told you were a bit lucky to have some jobs and could live outside the camp in Kigali or just in I was from northern province. The camp was in northern province. So as I was saying, when I got the job, my family, my mother, my sisters stayed in the camp, but I moved and I lived in a house, but just around the camp. So I think I answered the question. I did answer the question, right? Yeah.
You said you lived in a house near the camp. Was there a reason why you lived closer to the camp? Why you lived close to the camp?
The reason I live close to the camp is because the job was in the camp. The job I was telling you was in the camp. I was teaching those people resettled, supposed to be resettled in the camp. Yeah.
So it seems like for some time you were in the camp, and other times you were
you got it. You got it.
Right? How was it being a refugee in Kigali? Kigali is a big city.
Being a refugee in Kigali is very tough, given the cost of life, the house renting, electricity, water. It's only for the people who could afford maybe getting a nice job. Otherwise, it's not really easy. Yeah.
Was it the fact that it's hard to get a job, or just the fact that it's so expensive to live there?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to get a job in Kigali, what would be the things how would you be able to find a job in Kigali?
Finding a job in Kigali would be tough. For you to know, most of the African countries that are really struggling with development, they don't have enough factories, industries to employ people. Only lucky people are those who get jobs from public institutions. So even Rwandans themselves, a lot of them are jobless. So you can imagine for the refugee. So this is why it's really very hard to say a refugee could afford having a job in Kigali. But once you're lucky, you could get one, but not in the public institution.
It has to be in the public institution?
It has not.
It can't be.
Yeah, it can't have, yeah.
Is that because of your status?
Yeah, because of the status.
Which kind of also limits the opportunity for you to get a job.
In the papers, no, but practically yes. Yeah. Because according to the law, they say, hey, a refugee has the equal access to job opportunity as a national, but it never happens. And I understand, because even the sons of the nation, the Rwandans themselves, are really stricken by the issue of unemployment. So they have to get served first. Yeah.
How would your employer know that you're a refugee? When you're applying for a job, how would the person selecting you would know that you're a refugee?
With the job that I had?
No, in general.
Identification. We didn't have the Rwandan national identification card that we call Rwanda ID card. And there's also the refugee ID card. They are even different when you look at them. It's like this paper and this font. Yeah. Or it's like you can change the color of this. You see what I'm talking about? So different.
So the nationals will be carrying the nationals.
Yeah.
Will be carrying the
Yeah. Yeah.
Were there also some discriminations when you were living in Kigali because you were a refugee?
Honestly, no. Honestly, no. But I want to make myself understood. How can I call it? Who I am, you cannot differentiate me with a Rwandan. Because I was from Congo, the part of the Congo that used to be the territory of Rwanda before the Belgium Conference of dividing Africa, which means my culture, my language, my everything is Rwandan, but politically and by territory, I'm a Congolese. You see what I'm talking about? So if Rwandans are to discriminate me, it's because they see my ID. Otherwise, when I speak Kinyarwanda, you can differentiate me from a son born from. You see what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Now, you said that if they knew that you're a refugee, there would be discrimination. What would be some examples? Did you also experience?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you share your story?
I know not one example of students who at the end of their secondary school, they maximized, they had the highest grade to have the scholarship to go study abroad, but they didn't accept them to do so because of that.
Because
yeah,
the child wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Any personal experience of discrimination because you're a refugee?
Was minor. Yeah, like I remember when I was in secondary, people they could even call me Mkongomani. For me, it was, yeah. I know we were actually 4 from the camp going to secondary school, but they were calling us Kongomani, and yeah, but it's really minor. Yeah.
Now, living in Kigali, how was the housing? You said that it's expensive to live in the city, but I guess you managed to live there. So, how was it?
If you got the source of income, it's fair. Yeah, it's affordable. But if you don't, it's very tough. Yeah.
So in finding housing, is it like a formal application process, or did you have to ask other refugees?
Say it again.
When you were finding housing in Kigali, did you depend on the information?
Oh, I depend on information from Rwandans, my friends with whom we were together at school, at university. Yeah, we had even to live together for a couple of days before you see what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Did you have a lot of friends?
Yeah, yeah. Even now we keep communicate through social media, and yeah, I have best friend, Rwandan best friend.
How do you think having those friends helped you
A lot.
while you were living in Kigali?
It helped. Yeah, it helped me a lot. A lot. I remember one time I even had a part-time job from a friend like that. He connected me, and yeah, and he's still a good friend. Yeah. The only bad experience that I would talk about Rwanda is political. When you look at the political agenda of the Rwandan government toward refugees, Congolese refugees, it's not good. I don't want to talk about it in details, but it's not good. Yeah. In the papers, they say they put good, they have the very nice clauses, but what they do is the opposite. Yeah, I'm sorry if I don't clarify that, but if you like reading, if you're interested in refugees, Congolese refugees, Rwanda government, whatever, you can read, but it's not good because of what I told you. In fact, and it troubles me, and it troubles all of the Congolese who are really patriotic. Yeah. You see, Rwanda, there happened genocide in Rwanda. Then those who committed genocide went to Congo. Rwanda had to follow, the government that stopped genocide had to follow those genociders in Congo. So the fact that they went to Congo is like the refugees over there they are politically not good because of a lot of interest, political interest for the government, for the one government. Yeah.
When you were living in the camp, was there, was it a camp just for the Congolese refugees, or was it just for the Congolese?
Yeah, it was only for the, I only know one person who was not Congolese in the camp. He was from Angola, and he lived there for just for the while, and one Somali, and they lived there just for a while, they left.
What was your motivation in pursuing? It seems like you had such a strong pursuit of education. Even though you're a refugee, you were like taking these exams and trying to get a scholarship. What do you think was the motivation behind that?
It was very tough to stay at school that time. Let me tell you. I remember the situations we were studying in. No classes, no materials, no books, in fact, it was not schooling. So those who could afford staying there were like doing nothing in the eyes of those who failed to do so, but with a motivation that we would probably maybe reach somewhere. I remember we didn't have even the blackboard. We called it blackboard. We had with my teacher, I remember I was in P4, primary 4. He said, hey guys, for you to have notes, you are going to contribute, you just find some money. How much is that money? We buy a table, kind of a wood, we make by ourselves. We were sitting on, there was no even desks. We were sitting, you see the oil containers? cooking oil containers. We were sitting on those stuffs. So in my mind I was like, what else can I do in the camp? In the minds of those who were leaving school, they were like, what are we doing? We know what it means to go to school. This is not school. Honestly, it's as if I didn't do primary school. Because I told you when I left the camp and I went to a seminary, that's when I was convinced I was going to school. Because in Rwanda, and I think in a number of countries in Africa, seminaries are good institutions, are good schools. I remember I scored the last grade, the last note among the students who were supposed to attend the seminary. I was the last one. I was at the very bottom. But it was the opposite when I got to the seminary. You see what I'm talking about? And if I try, that time when I tried to think of what we were studying in the camp, no curriculum. The teachers were not paid, they were volunteers. I was like, we did not I didn't understand how the part of the courses that we were doing to go to a seminary, they were religion. It's like divinity. That's the only course that I had high note, which means math, languages. I failed. I almost failed. So I realized that we didn't study because we were not following the amazing thing was the curriculum that we were using in the camp was Congolese. You see what I'm talking about? And the test, the national exam and the seminary entry exam was in the line with the Rwandan curriculum. You see the opposite? So the only motivation, if I'm back to to your question, the only motivation for me was like, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what tomorrow will look like. That's why I was, let me go to school. I remember sometimes back in Congo, when we could go to school, my dad I was too young that time. Only my sisters were going to school, my elder sisters. So my dad, before going to work, was taking me to school because I didn't have yet the age to go to school. He went to school and dealt with one of the teachers. Hey, this guy doesn't want to stay home. He also want to follow me to work or follow the sisters to school. So please keep him for me. It was like I was not officially enrolled in school. So I remembered back home, I should be going to school. So this is what I have to do too, even if I'm in a camp. Even if we are in the situation that's really precarious. So that was the only motivation. And for me, it really paid off. It really paid off because I was among a few refugees who got the job at the end of their studies. And yeah, it even helps right here because I'm not struggling like others, even with English here. I try to think where I would be or how I would be living here if my English is 0. Of course, I was telling Grace that with my African accent, the problem we have, all of us, the problem we have here in the United States is, I even talk with some people even from Europe. We are really hit by the accent here. We can talk, of course. I don't think when I speak, people here, they don't understand. But when they speak, sometimes the black people, they speak very first. And they have to say, hey, I didn't understand. Hey, can you speak slowly? Please come again. But at least I go shopping, I go to the bank, I go everywhere. I come to World Relief, I get the interview with you. And so when I try to think what would happen if I didn't study back home, I think life would be worse than the way it is right now. Yeah.
So it seems like education was your way of preparing for an uncertain future.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
You said that there was only really just a few people who were able to get a job in the camp, like yourself.
Yeah.
So it seems like you had a job, so you probably earned money. Would there be markets, or would there be a place to spend the money?
Yeah. There was either in the camp or outside the camp, and we were free to go out for shopping or to spend the money. Yeah.
And within the camp, if you're not working like yourself, you said you'd be given about about $1 worth of money per month. Were you also given food?
No, that money replaced food ration.
And you would buy the money to buy some, if you were...
The money I told you include, how much did they tell you? 6,000?
6,000 Rwanda.
Oh, it's, how much is that in dollars? Actually, $1 is 800 Rwandan francs. So $6, 6,000 Rwandan francs is about, you can see. So the money that they have per month is what they use for everything, for food, for non-food items, for clothing, for soap, for detergent, for soaps, for lotion, for whatever. Yeah.
And that money will be given by UNHCR?
By the World Food Organization, the World Food Program. It works hand in hand with UNHCR. They are seat organizations. Yeah.
Do you think that was better for people, for the refugees in the camp? Or do you think it would have been better if they were, instead of money, if they were given food or clothing or other stuff that they would need on a very basic level?
The only problem is that money is still not enough, but it's better than food. Because with food was sometimes expired food. Yeah, for me, money is, even for most of them, as I could hear them talking about that, they would prefer money. Yeah.
How was your friends or your community in the camp?
Right now?
How was it back then? You said that you had a lot of friends. You were able to make a lot of friends in Kigali. Was it also the case in the camp?
Yeah. Yeah.
Were there any gatherings or community activities that you guys could do?
Yeah, we used to play. They were on football playground, soccer. When I say football here, it's different. And basketball, we could play. We had the conference hall. That's what also used as we could watch some games. We had the TV given by UNHCR, so we could get some entertainment. Yeah.
Are you still in touch with some of those people?
Yeah, we communicate. Yeah.
So tell us about how you got the information or how you learned of the possibility of being resettled in a third country and what the process was like.
Oh, the process was very long. It took roughly 7 years. My mom, my family was picked. They were picking randomly. Was picked for the first interview in 2012. And pain for so long until I got married, and I requested for split. There was a way of splitting the cases, and I think that's why I came and they stayed there, because my case was a little bit clear than it was more clear than the rest, because we have it's complicated. We have a cousin that my mom is adopting. So because that one is not a just a daughter to my mom, that's the one that complicated the case. They waited for her to complete 18 years. She made it and they're still there. So when they picked us, I felt like, because the resettlement process was there for like 1 year back, so we were really very happy and but very tired to wait until I requested for split, and that when it ran a little bit faster, and we made it last year, October. Yeah, I remember it was on 11. I got here on 11th, the very morning.
So the first time you had an interview was back in 2012.
That time I have not been interviewed, only my mom. But myself, the first interview was in 2014. Yeah.
Just for you, looking at it just for yourself, it took about 3 to 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And during the course of time, you would be interviewed multiple times.
It's a very long process. Many interviews. Yeah.
So how did you learn about the possibility of being resettled, though? Did everyone know at the camp? Did they tell you? Did UNHCR tell you that you can be resettled? How did it work? How did you learn about it?
In like the second or third interview, they tell you that sometimes they call people, they interview them, but for different purposes. But at like the second interview, they said, hey, you are likely to be resettled. So that's how they tell people. They actually say, the UNHCR says that.
So at first you didn't even know that you would be resettled?
Yeah, before I didn't know before.
When was it that you knew that you would be going to Jacksonville?
Oh, I knew that in May last year. Mm-hmm. So 5 months later, I got resettled. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't know about Jacksonville before, so I had to read. I only had one of the former student in my class of English as a second language I told you about, who was here. He called me one time, hey Benjamin, thank you for your English, the English you taught me. We are here in Jacksonville, Florida, and I recall, this is where the man told me he is, so I have to read. I was like, the weather is cool, so many people were requesting for transfer to go to somewhere else rather than where they were direct to go. So for me, I said, I'll go there. If I am to move, I'll move, but let me go. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you knew someone already before you came?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that person has been helping you a lot?
He moved. I came here when he moved to, is it Georgia? I think Georgia. Yeah.
Why did he move?
They tell me different reasons. Sometimes they say here there's a low pay. Sometimes they say here it's hard to get job for people with zero English. That they have different reasons they move. Yeah. But by experience, Congolese people, they don't like Jacksonville. No, they don't like Florida. Many of them have been to Orlando. Have you been to Orlando? You told me you go to Orlando. You live in Orlando. So many of them, when they arrived, many of them, they were brought to Orlando and life was not good for them. They moved. So everybody comes here, they say, hey, you're going to fail the life here. You're not going to be able to live there. Many people moved from Florida to other states. So for me, I said, let me try and see. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm still trying.
Why do you think they don't like it?
For me, I would not go for their reason talking about the pay or the jobs, but for me they were not passionate. They didn't take really enough because what they told me was they moved after 3 months, 4 months. Not even one of them lived here for a year or more than 1 year. So they should try first and fail. But they shouldn't fail to try it. So I understand that I have a feeling that the life in most of the US states is almost the same. I try to call people in different other states where the pay is a bit higher. You will find that the car insurance is also higher. Where the pay is a little bit higher, they will tell you that the houses are very expensive. The rent is very expensive. It's amazing. People are telling me, you can go to a supermarket, maybe to Walmart in somewhere, for this water, the cost is different from. So when I try to balance all of that, I say, I don't have to move right away. I will just wait until I really get to know it's really worthwhile to move. Yeah.
What would be some things that you would really like to figure out before you make a decision?
The only thing that would make me move?
Yeah.
The only thing that can make me move is when I don't have a job. If I don't have a job here or it's really tough for me to pay the bills, okay, well, what else should I be doing here? Yeah.
So, you've been here about 6 to 7 months, and I would like to know how life has been going.
Can I drink this water?
Sure,
I feel
yeah,
thirsty. I'm sorry, I forgot my battery in the car. I came kind of late. I wanted to be here maybe 15 or 10 minutes before. When I was here late, kind of having only 5 minutes, I just rushed. And thank you. I'm sorry.
So how has it been? Just casually tell us what it has been like after landing on Jacksonville, how life has been. And I know that you are you've been here for 6 to 7 months. That means that you are probably no longer on that first 3-month support. So can you tell us about that?
I was very lucky. Oh gosh, give me a second.